Hey there, this is your weekly video message, and it's Sunday, January 9th, already 9 days into the new year. I am so proud of you. I just came back from the International President's Meeting, and we received all sorts of recognition for being the top franchise. So when you're reading this email, you're going to see all of the recognition that we did receive. And I have to tell you that everybody from every single area of Alouette is asking, how did you guys do it? How did you guys do it? So we're really fulfilling one of the goals that your managers and myself had a few years ago, which is to be a light, to be an example to other people in Alouette of how to be successful and have the priorities in their lives of God, family, and then their business. I have never swayed from that. I still believe more than ever that you can have your priorities and you can make a lot of money, at least $100,000 or more if that's your goal. So coming into 2011 is not the time for you to be focused on what hasn't happened or what's gone wrong or what you haven't achieved, but to be focused on your dreams and what you do want to have happen. I have so many exciting things that I can't wait to share with you when we have the monthly meeting, in upcoming videos, and as we start building for 2011. So hang in there with me. Great things are going to happen. Okay, something for you to be thinking about right now, and this is regardless of where you are in Alouette at all, whether you're active, inactive, a manager, no matter what your situation is what I call the rocking chair test. Many times as women, we have an amazing threshold for pain, and we tend to just go through survival mode. We get through today, and then we get through the next day, and before we know it, we're saying, well, I've gotten through that week, or I've gotten through that month. But sadly, eventually we're saying, I can't believe how the years have just gone by, and I'm not anywhere where I thought I would be. So one of the things that's recommended to do is to imagine yourself in your old age, sitting in a rocking chair on your veranda, rocking in the chair and looking backwards and saying how happy you are about what you achieved, what you experienced, what you did for others in your life, and what would that be? But of course, if you're looking back in the rocking chair and you're realizing that you're going to have 30 more years of debt and struggle and argument with your spouse and lack of choices for your family, that might be the thing that actually gets you to take action. I am constantly asked, how do I stay motivated? And as much as you have your manager, you have myself, and if you are a manager, you have other managers, you have me, the truth is nobody can motivate you. Motivation is something that's internal. What we can do is we can inspire you by getting you to dream again, getting you to think about what you really want, because it's what you really want that's going to motivate you. It's not anything that I can do. So whether I'm right there with you, or I'm in Florida, or I'm somewhere else, that's not the point. The point is what will motivate you. Now, here's something that psychologists have proven over and over again. People will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. Let me say that again. People will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. Why is this an insight for you? Well, do you suffer from procrastination? Are you already feeling guilty because you had big goals and big dreams, and maybe you've had some cancellations, or you haven't been able to get the bookings you wanted to get yet, or you realize you really haven't been on the phone doing what you needed to do? Well, think about what I just said. If you're focused on, yeah, I'd really like to get going again because I really like Alouette and I really want to be a part of it and I don't just want to give up, well, how motivating is that to you? And I'm not trying to be negative, but this might help you. I was just talking to somebody recently, and she said she wanted to make $50,000 a year this year in Alouette. Now, that's a great goal for anybody, but the key question I asked her was why? When I said, why do you want to make that money? She paused. First of all, you should know why you want to make that money, and you should feel a heart connection to it. Secondly, the reasons that she gave me, I could tell just by the way she was talking about them, they weren't exciting to her. So I said, let me ask you this. If your life doesn't change, if you don't start making more money, if you don't have options and changes, how are you going to feel if things continue for the next 50 years like they are now or worse? Like they are now or worse. And when I was more detailed with her, because I know her circumstances, she said, oh God, that is not motivating at all. Or that's actually something that will make me want to change. See, because we often don't think that far in advance. We don't think about 3 or 5 years of going through this over and over again. And yet that might be the very thing that causes you to move. I remember when I was struggling in the business, and at the very, very, very beginning of starting it, I just really wasn't doing what I could have been doing. I was more afraid of people saying no to me than I was motivated by my dreams. So one day I realized that I had to switch it around. It wasn't enough for me to ask people to have shows and be really enthusiastic because I wanted to be successful. That wasn't working because you see the pain of asking them. What I thought was the rejection, what I thought was going to happen to me was stronger. So I was willing to do more to avoid asking people than I was to go for my dreams. So here's what I did. I made the case for the negative. I made it more painful to not ask people, to not do my job, to not get on the phone. I remember saying to myself, Deborah, if you don't do this, what is this going to mean to you in the negative? Instead of saying, if you do this, you can make more money and you can travel and you can have choices. That wasn't working. So I said, if you don't do this, you are going to have to go back to the bank and you're going to have to tell all those people that you were wrong. If you don't do this, you're going to have to tell your parents that they were absolutely right and that you shouldn't have taken that chance. But more than that, if you don't do this, you are going to know and know that you know that the system worked because it worked for lots of other people and it was because you weren't willing to do it. So how can you say that you're somebody who's a hard worker, how you're somebody who wants better things in your life if you're not willing to make that change? That fear became stronger than the fear of rejection, and that made all the difference in the world. You need to learn a word that is going to be critical for you for the rest of your life, and it is N-E-X-T, next. Who's next that I can meet? Who's next that I can talk to? Who's going to be my next recruit, my next customer, my next hostess? What's going to be my next bonus check, my next achievement in Alouette? It's always about who's next. Now, the reason I mentioned that you have to have a heart connection to your goals is this has been proven too. There's actually a Heart Math Institute, the main institute in the world. And what they have proven is that your heart exerts more energy and has more power over your goals than your brain does. As a matter of fact, I think they say it's like 100,000 times stronger. So again, if you're wondering why I can write down all my goals and I can break them all down, but I don't seem to get going and make them happen, it's because you haven't made a heart connection to it. So if your goal is to make enough money to take your children to Disney World, then you've got to make that heart connection. I love that commercial that's out now where they say to the kids, you're going to be going to Disney World, and the kids keep saying, is this for real? Is this real? I mean, is this real? And then they start jumping up. I mean, that tugs at my heartstrings. You've got to put up your dream board. You've got to be thinking about it from an emotional viewpoint. But take my advice. If it doesn't work for you to think of the good things because maybe your self-image hasn't gotten there yet, then make the case in the negative. Decide that if you don't do it, how are you going to feel? And make that far worse than the time it's going to take you to get on the phone. We have every resource for you. We have got over 40 videos. You can go on and watch some of those videos just to be inspired by what some of the other people have done and overcome. There is nobody who's been successful in this business that hasn't had to overcome difficulties. As a matter of fact, it's prerequisite. You can't make it as somebody who's going to inspire and lead others if you haven't gone through things yourself. So your attitude and how you're going to look at it is going to make the difference. You know, Maya Angelou always says, if you can change something that you don't like, then change it. If you can't change it, then change your attitude. And attitude is 85% in this business. So what video could you watch this week? Whose manager show could you go and see? And I know you might say, I know my show. The problem is I don't have enough shows up. But you know what? If you sit in your home and you stew about it, you are going to just feel bad about it. You need to be reaping what you're sowing. And if right now you're sowing failure thoughts, discouragement thoughts, what's not happening thoughts, that's going to come back to you. Get around successful people. Start planting those successful seeds. Start believing that you're going to have that and be ready to receive it. Thanks again for a fantastic year, but put your seatbelts on. We're getting ready for another one that's going to be even better. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.